Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome back to 5 Minutes with Gray Hair Dave. If you haven't figured it out by now by listening, my name is Gray Hair Dave. Welcome back. This is episode number 5. No, I'm sorry. This is episode number 6. I was going to record episode 6 on the weekend, but I didn't. I work from home on the weekends for my regular job. And then Sunday, I decided to relax and get caught up on a couple other things going on. So here I am again today. So we're going to take this back to 5 days a week for now. But anyways, here we are. Number 6 is according to the Chat GPT list that they have graciously given to me. Nostalgic childhood memories. Oh my God. I'll tell you what, I could talk about childhood memories. Oh, when you grow up in the 60s and 70s, folks, if you're a baby boomer, you understand this. You come home from school, or unless it's summertime and you're not in school, you come home and you change your clothes. You put on your, we didn't call them play clothes, but basically you put on clothes that it was okay to get dirty. And you went outside into the garage or into the shed and you got your bicycle out and you went over to your friend's house and you guys started playing. Whether that was Army or, back then you could play Army or with action figures or basketball, football, baseball. If it was a wintertime, it was ice skating. I remember doing all those things with my friends. Or just going for bike rides or running around playing games. And, you get thirsty, you go get a drink of water out of the hose. Nothing tasted better than drinking water out of a hose back then. I don't know why. God forbid you do it now. But anyways, I think there were less toxins in the water then anyway. But, you didn't come in until either A, your mom yelled for you outside saying dinner was ready, or B, the lights came on the street lights. When the street lights came on, everybody went inside pretty much. That's just the way it was. I mean, you'd get home from school and you'd go play. I remember if some of my friends were all busy with homework or lessons that they had to take, or one of my friends, he had hockey practice and, things like that. They did things besides just, with our own little group. They had their lives with their family. And I remember my brother, Tim, I think Paul was involved too. They built a backboard on our garage. So we had a backboard. It was really cool. They painted it, Tim painted it, I think. It was a peace sign. It was really kind of fun. It was cool. So I got to play basketball in my own driveway instead of having going over to a neighbor's house to play basketball if I wanted to. It was fun, I remember one summer, we all decided we were going to build go-karts. Unfortunately, none of us had the extra motor to put on a go-kart, but we made one, and I think Paul helped me out a little bit on mine, and so did Tim to, do it to steer and do things. We didn't do much with it, but it was fun to do. It was fun to build. Those were fun times. I mean, it's just good old-fashioned fun. Working with your hands, playing with, with your friends. It was just fun. And it didn't involve being inside, watching a television, playing games. Now, if you're a guy or girl or anything out there that likes to play games on television, a gamer. If you're a gamer now, good for you. My nephews are gamers. More power to them. I don't have that kind of hand-eye coordination at my age, and never did. I remember my first wife and I, we got a gaming console, and we tried, and the games were a whole lot easier back then. That's right when they first came out. But it was okay. It was a novelty, not like it is. Yeah, I went to the arcades when I was in my teens because we had arcades then. If you've ever seen the movie War Games, I think that's got Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy in it. They had an arcade in there where he was playing arcade games, and he wanted to get the latest game. That's how that all came about. And if you look at the computer in this guy's room, oh, 3.25 or 5.25 floppy disks, and oh my gosh, it was. We can do all that on our phones now, And he had all this. He had a big L-shaped desk full of computer equipment to do the same thing your cell phone will do right now. It's amazing stuff. But I saw that movie a while ago because it played on one of the nostalgic stations. I don't have cable anymore. I just use streaming services. So I think it was on Pluto TV because Pluto's free. I like to use all the free ones I can get. But that was on, and then I saw the old Top Gun movie where, the fighter jets and everything. But I think it was the Manhattan Project. There was one where a kid gets into a nuclear facility and then makes a nuclear bomb and tries to save the world and all these other kinds of things. Some of the old movies were really great. But that's my nostalgic look down memory lane there of childhood growing up. That's not all I'll talk about as time goes on, but that was some of it. One of the things that ChatGPT's list told me was to talk about music memories. In fact, that was labeled number 3. And some of my favorite music memories were going to the bars in the town I lived in a neighboring town. And they used to have cover bands in. They're called cover bands now, basically, but people would play there on the weekends or sometimes during the week, and I'd go and we'd meet a bunch of friends and we'd have a few drinks and we'd dance and we'd listen to music. Those were some of my favorite times. We go down to the bowling alley in Marysville, Michigan, and back then they had a large bar attached to it, and they had a huge place for a band and for a dance floor, lots of tables. Lots of people. It was a popular place. After that, at a place called the Clock Restaurant. Why they called it the Clock, I don't know. Doesn't matter. They were open around the clock, and you could go in and get breakfast after you'd been drinking half the evening. But those are some of my favorites. But I went to a couple of concerts that the Beach Boys put on at Pine Knob in Michigan, which is an outdoor venue. Those were a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. I mean, I went to quite a few concerts in my life before I started working in the entertainment industry. After I left the airline industry, I started driving semis, and I got a job with a company where our job was to haul lights and sound. So I was carrying around lighting rigs and truss and chain motors and soundboards and light boards that the people use in concerts all over the country. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work because they also would send me out as labor too. It's a little extra money for me, but it was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of concerts from backstage, which was it's kind of interesting, seeing Boston, the band Boston backstage. A couple other ones I picked up at Pine Knob. We did a lot of auto show work at Cobo Hall in Detroit and at the Javits Center in New York City. So if you've ever driven in New York City or haven't been in New York City, you know how bad traffic can be. I used to drive in that with a semi. That's a challenge. Had a guy try to drive underneath me one day. It was completely his fault. The cop came up and told me that. He stopped just in time before he went under the trailer, but he had his nose underneath the trailer. Thought he could turn on the inside of me. Cop just stood there and watched it happen, and I looked in the mirror. I slammed on the brakes, and I get out, and the cop comes over. The guy backs up and drives away. The cop looks at me and goes, "Welcome to New York." Yeah, well, okay. Jeez, there were some times. But anyway, it's just one of those things. But I also drove in L.A., and I'll tell you what, I'd rather drive in New York City than in L.A. That's just my personal opinion with a semi. I don't know, with a car might be easier. But anyways, I digress onto that. We're back into music. Man, I tell you, I don't know how I would be the person I would be today if it weren't for the fact that I like music. I'd probably be a completely different person if I didn't like music. Music's playing in my room a lot, or in my bedroom. I'm doing things in the bedroom or when I'm around the house. I've got that little round device that starts with an A and has an X and an A at it, and say the name, but I don't want it to pipe up and say something back to me. Or I also have the other one that Apple provides, but they don't provide. You got to pay for it, of course. But then I have them playing either music or I have them playing podcasts all day while I'm home. If I'm working or if I'm recording, of course. But things like that. Not enough I'm editing, but because I have headphones in. But music's been a big part of my life. I've loved it all my life. I remember, folks, 8-tracks took over and surpassed cassette tapes when 8-track players came out. And they were big and bulky and didn't last compared to the cassettes, because the cassettes came back and the 8-tracks went away. And then we got CDs and we thought life was great. Now we've got everything on flash drives. And now everything is great. Now everything goes through your car. It's fantastic. I mean, the progress is fantastic if you think about it. Anyways, folks, I've got my 10 or 11 minutes in. So I'm just going to say, that's today's sermon. Please tell your friends, I am still working on getting this podcast up on Apple Podcasts. So don't forget, tell everybody you know about me, the crazy gray-haired guy called Gray Hair Dave. He does a 5-minute podcast that usually lasts 10 minutes or so. It's on all the podcasting apps. Tell them to look anywhere except for Apple. Like I say, I'm working on that. It all comes down to artwork, and I'll get it. I apologize. And I will talk to you tomorrow, folks. Don't forget, this is episode 6. Episode 7 is on the way. Bye-bye.